We try and be funny on this show. We try and make jokes, but nothing could be more of a joke than All-Star Weekend. We'll try and contain our curmudgeonness as we talk about All-Star Weekend. Plus, we're going to get into the state of the Denver Nuggets heading out of the All-Star break. And who are going to be the next All-Stars to team up? We got all buddy-buddy this weekend in the Bay. All that and more on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being with us Monday through Friday, being an everydayer, as we like to say, hanging out with us through all of our different shows as we come to you Monday through Friday, along with bonus shows. We're so glad that you're part of our community. You can find us on podcast wherever you get podcasts, as well as at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, and join the thousands of folks who are helping us steam towards 10,000 subscribers this season. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm also the author of a site called thedenverdig.com. Tomorrow, I have a piece coming out on PJ Hall. I talked to PJ about his performance in the G League, what it's been like going back and forth. Talked to Ben Tenzer a little bit about what he's GM of the G League and about what the plan was for PJ. It's kind of a look inside of the Nuggets development plan there in Grand Rapids. His name's Ryan Blackburn. He's over at Mile High Sports. You can catch his post-game coverage at milehighsports.com after every single Nuggets game, as well as columns throughout the week. He's also got the Pick Action Roll podcast. Have I gotten this through all the stuff?
I think so. I think at this point, yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to talk about the Nuggets and what we think of their season coming up. That's second segment. In the last segment, we're going to talk about like all-star pairings. Ryan has a fun idea to talk about. These guys always kind of like get buddy and hang out at All-Star Weekend and then want to play together. Who's that going to be next time? We'll talk a little bit about that, but we'll start today with All-Star Weekend. Nikola Jokic competes in the All-Star Weekend, I guess, to the level that he ever does. I didn't have anything wrong with
compete is a strong word there.
Yeah, but like I don't mind it. It's fine. Like it's fine. They lose in the final to Team Shaq 41-25 after an 11-1 start, and then a break in the middle that took, I'm checking the numbers here, 17 hours is how long the break in the middle took. Jokic in the final, 1 of 3 from the field, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 points, and a -16.
Yeah, tough one for the plus-minus crowd on the Jokic front. This one was a toughie. He wouldn't make any threes, and that's it's tough. Now, Matt, he went into the break not shooting the ball well from 3. Are you concerned about Jokic's 3-ball heading out of this All-Star break?
No. So anyway, the highlight was really his transition fast break lob to Wemby. That was fun. A lot of complaints are look, there's always going to be complaints about, I think, about All-Star Weekend in the modern age. Like we complain about everything online. This one was especially bad, I think, for a number of reasons. Separate of the broadcast, which I'll kind of give my thoughts on. But Ryan, the format, people thought it was too short, that 40 was not enough. I thought the level of competition actually in the Rising Stars game versus Team Shaq was good. I thought the first game on the other side was good. The final just got really weird and stupid for a number of reasons, and that 11-1 run pretty much ended it. But from the format perspective, what did you think of just the format for the All-Star game?
Yeah, I understand why they did it. I understand why you're trying to come up with different things. Full disclosure, I barely watched anything this weekend. There were a couple of times that I tapped in, but as somebody who's just trying to recover from this early season portion, like I didn't watch everything. But of the things that I did watch, there were some good things that happened when you have the Rising Stars going up against the OGs. Those were, I think, interesting moments. I didn't like the fact that Kevin Hart was on the intercom the entire time, just chatting to all these guys, and then like
when they announced that he
was seriously, and
when they announced that he was going to MC, I was like, "Are you?" I was like, "No, like no." And like I joked on Twitter that this how this conversation must have gone. The NBA being like, "Hey, TNT, like good to meet with you. We're excited for All-Star this year. We're doing some changes. We really kind of want to bring back some competition and really make this an event that people care about. And so like we're changing the format and we want to shift things up here. in order to create a sense of competition and dignity for the Kevin Hart's going to MC. No, that's not. We want like a level of seriousness. Like we want to really celebrate basketball. And Shaq's going to make jokes about Bol. No, like we want to like celebrate the game that all these players love and that everyone around the world can come together and appreciate these amazing players competing for something. We're going to give Kevin Hart a trophy. No.
Did that actually happen? Like,
yeah, after they gave Steph Curry the Kobe Bryant Award, mind you.
Yeah,
they gave Kevin Hart a little an award to celebrate.
Mighty trophy.
Now, look, there's people in the comments that are saying that, like, hey, if you don't like it, we all know it's bad. Why did you watch? I never do. Like, this is a rare exception. I was like, all right, I'm going to see the format. I'm going to be real with you. Like, I have enough content. Like, I have to write a newsletter tomorrow about it, and I got to do a podcast tomorrow about it. So, like, I couldn't skip out this year. And usually I'm like that, where it's like, look, if you think it's going to be bad, don't watch. I'm totally with that. I will say that even when I didn't enjoy it because the players did not try, because it got worse and worse and worse every year in terms of level of competition. This one was egregious because of the way that TNT presented it. It literally, I think, removed dignity from the history of this event. Like there is a long-standing history of players in this event and what it means, and like the memories of guys being in the All-Star game. And the way that the TNT presented this tonight was an insult to that entire history of this league. And it made everything into one big joke. And I don't think that the All-Star game needs to be intense. I don't think it needs to be like the hardest level of competition. It just needs to not be embarrassing for everybody involved. And I thought tonight was honestly, the games were fine, but everything else, the way that it was presented because they wanted to make their money, was embarrassing, I think, for everybody.
There are a lot of aspects of this weekend that were embarrassing. I thought that, look, Mac McClung did a great job dunking last night. He was the only guy who really, and I thought Steph Castle was fine, but like the fact that they couldn't get anybody else to do this, and John Morant's on social, and Giannis and Zach LaVine are guys like, hey, maybe we should get going on the dunk contest next year, fellas. Let's boot it up and see. Let's bring back the dunk contest. Ain't no way they're doing that next year, man. There ain't no freaking way.
It's
all chatting crap. That's all this is.
John might. I can see John.
Oh, good for you. I don't think he will. Like we can make that bet right now, but I don't think he will.
All right. You have to shave a design into your beard, if I'm right.
That's what we've got. Other places where the designs are going already. The 3-point competition was an absolute farce. Like they have so many other talented 3-point shooters that they could have invited to that thing, and everybody was horrible in that thing. And like they couldn't get Steph to go for it because they were trying to get the thing set up with Sabrina Ionescu or whatever. But the fact that Steph wasn't on there at all on Saturday, like, are you kidding? Like, how could he have not been involved in the weekend at all until Sunday? Like that's crazy to me for like that being in that particular building. So I think that on top of those things, the fact that you had the Four Nations NHL All-Star event that was going on in like kind of juxtaposition to what was happening with the NBA, where the NBA was playing a clown show mix of events, while those guys on the NHL side were punching each other in the face because of how much they care. It just shows where the state of the league is right now, man. It just shows where the state of the league is, where the state of the actual festivities and how much you're going to celebrate what's going on in this league right now. I don't know if the league knows what they're doing right now.
I agree. I don't think they know how to. Well, I'll say this. I think it's less about the league not knowing what they're doing. I think it's more about their TV partners not knowing what they're doing. And I think it's also about, I've talked about this on Twitter, the players make so much money now that there's no motivation. $125,000 should be a lot for a player to make. It should be like, man, that's $125,000. It's pocket change. That's literally a game. It's half a game check for these guys.
Yeah.
Nothing. It just doesn't matter. There's no incentive. They have no reason to try. And they do think they're above it. It was funny because Draymond, one of the things that he said, because he was upset about the Rising Stars thing, is he was mad because he was like, this should be about celebrating these great play. And it was perfect, man. Because it was like, this is the thing. You guys think this weekend's about you. And it should be celebrating you. You're the All-Stars. But it's about celebrating the league and the sport and the fans. It should be a celebration of basketball with you as the centerpiece of what makes the league great. But instead, you just want it to be like everything about you. Like you want to not try, but also not be challenged, but also not have to share the state. Like it's the whole thing.
There's too many. There are too many holes in this thing.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to like. I don't know what Adam Silver's doing right now. I don't know what
counting his money.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what the NBA TV partners are doing. I really hope that Amazon and NBC provide some seriousness to what we're watching, because between TNT and ESPN, I'm up to my ears with it. Like I am so tired of listening to these games and hating the broadcast every time.
Let's talk about something better. Let's talk about how good the Nuggets are, because they've been really good. I'm not going to talk at all about how bad the competition has been during the stretch where they've been great, because I have some good numbers about how good the Nuggets can be. We'll talk about that and more on the other side here on Locked On Nuggets. You know, when it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I don't have time, man. I have 2 Substacks. I have 7 podcasts I've been counting. Between work life and trying to eat healthier, I was constantly feeling stressed out. So you go to the grocery store, you buy things you don't need, and then you end up with no time to actually cook and sticking to your health goals. That's a struggle too. Everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. Was Hungry Root. It's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. The best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to your door. It's been a huge time saver, and it's made eating healthy so much easier. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box. It's a huge discount and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. All right, back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Hope your week's off to a great start here on a Monday. No jinx with you, because, well, Ryan and I would never, ever, 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 ever try and jinx anyone. Okay, so give me your a big picture kind of view thesis. Try and put it down to a couple of sentences on where you think the Denver Nuggets are headed into the All-Star break, Ryan.
Yeah, I think they're more or less where I thought they would be. Maybe even like on a better pace win-wise than I thought that they would be. I think they've figured some things out over the course of the first 55 games. I think that they've gotten lucky and unlucky at times with health, just like every other team in the NBA has gotten lucky and unlucky in terms of health. And I think that as it currently stands right now, they are really well positioned within the Western Conference. They are going to have to fight. They're going to have to continue to work hard in the second portion of this season. But they've done pretty well in the first portion, at least well enough that I think you can justify giving them at least a B for what they've done so far this year.
So I was looking at some numbers today, and I'm working on a piece for Fansided about another squad, and I kind of stumbled upon this intersection of things, which is 90% of NBA champions have crossed the 40-20 mark. And you've heard me talk about only 2 teams in the history of the league have finished with lower than a 4 seed. And I think 85% of them have come from a top 3 seed. So we got 40-20, and we've got that. And then we've got SRS, which is, I've talked about this all the time. It's point differential versus strength of schedule, right? Yeah. So how do you how much do you win by versus how tough your opponents are? What's, by the way, kind of funny. The second lowest mark for an NBA champion is the Denver Nuggets in 2023. They were the
times have changed a little bit. I think you don't have to be as good in the regular season to be elite in the playoffs. Yeah. I think that's changed.
Yeah. So the Nuggets are within range of that. So they're obviously on pace for a top 3 seed. They're one game back of Memphis for the 2. They do have an SRS above 3.0, and they do have a top 3 seed. So they meet the requirements for being considered an NBA champion. The teams are the top 3 seeds in each conference currently. It's Memphis, OKC, Denver, and it's Boston, New York, Cleveland. So when we put these kind of limitations on, it's interesting because it really is like, all right, these are your contenders. Like Houston, not a contender. LA, not a contender. The Bucks, not a contender. Who's the 4 in the East right
now?
Indiana, not a contender, right? Like the champion's going to come from one of those 6 teams. Now, a conference winner can come from a number of other squads. That's become at least a lot more liquid, right? But yeah. I do think it's kind of interesting to look at that from that prism. And one thing I was like thinking about this morning was just how much I think we have, and I think DNVR has, I think most people have, like, we've been really like pretty stressed out this whole season. And I don't know if it's lingering from that early season stretch. And I do have to stress that, like, if you look at, somebody had a piece on this on Substack over the weekend. If you look at like the record of the teams that Denver has faced during this 8-game winning streak, it is horrible.
And the good teams, or at least the teams playing well, then were hurt at that time.
Yeah. So but you play who's in front of you, and they have won the games, and they are on pace for 53 wins, and they do have a shot at making it back up to 57 if they push through the All-Star break and they're playing their best basketball. And a lot of this is you've kind of were commenting about this to me on the trade deadline show and a couple of other times, which is like, Matt, this is exactly what you said preseason. Like, hey, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be horrible. But by the end of it, they're going to be a better team than when they started, and they're going to be in a position to compete for a title.
Yeah.
And here we are. And when I started to think of it from that perspective, I understood a lot more why you felt the other day that they need to show versus these good teams coming up. That if they do get killed versus these teams, if they don't compete with the great teams that they're going to play over the next 2 weeks, guess what? They're not going to be a top 3 seed, and they're not going to have they're not going to have a 3+ SRS, and they're not going to reach 40-20. They won't reach those benchmarks. They won't have those things. If they're going to achieve it's hand in hand. It's like, you got to beat the good teams if you're going to be a good enough team to be considered a contender. It is part of that. There's not enough bad teams on the schedule for Denver to be able to get into that kind of position because of where the West is. There's just, even though I think the West is flawed, there's a lot of really good teams.
Right.
There's just fewer great teams, I think, in the West than there is in the East. And so from that perspective, it made a lot more sense why you think that this upcoming stretch of games matters so much for them.
And it's not just like the stretch here. It's more of like, have you shown progress? Have you shown that you're retaining some of this progress that you have made? Have you done the things that you have done to make yourself a better team, to put yourself into a position where you get into these tough situations and you can get through them? And we've seen this team obviously compete very well before and against some of the top teams, but I still want to see it again. I still want to continue to watch the growth unfold, if that makes sense. It has to come from a variety of factors, and we've seen elements of it from everybody in the rotation so far. And one thing I did this last night because I was like, I don't really know. I didn't know what I was going to want to do for this weekend, but I decided, you know what, this will be fun. I took the playoff rotation, the top 8 of every team in the NBA, every single team. And obviously that includes some of the changes, like Doncic is now on the Lakers. And so they don't have a large enough sample size with that to really show things. And I took the net rating of all of the lineups that when a team plays 5 of their top 8 players via PBP stats in like moments where they play 5 of their top 8, Denver has played the 3rd most minutes of any of those teams, 1,565. So we have a pretty large sample size now of those kinds of minutes when Denver's going to play their playoff rotation. And Denver has the 6th highest net rating in that group. In order, the teams above them. It's a fascinating list. The Golden State Warriors, who have played only 125 minutes, that will normalize. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Memphis Grizzlies, the OKC Thunder, and the Dallas Mavericks, which will probably normalize as well. They've only played 272 minutes. The reason why I bring that up is when you narrow down those things and you narrow down the actual minutes, like you're trimming the fat of what your rotation is going to be, what teams are actually going to play in the playoffs. Denver's still about the 6th best team in the NBA. You could maybe argue up to about 4, depending on the small sample size teams. So I think that Denver's on the borderline of elite. I don't know if they're there yet. And I would like to see them continue to push higher. I'd like to see them continue to win some of those games right up until they have to start resting Matt, and right up until we can start normalizing resting after game 72.
Build championship habits, but not too much. I thought that was really well said. I'm going to let you have the last word on that. All right. Up next, we're going to talk about all-star pairings and whether or not some friends will have gotten together and gossiped together and gotten themselves into like, let's team up, and we'll talk about that, plus the realities of Denver and Jokic not playing with an all-star. We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. You got to love the live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether you're backing your team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, you're never going to feel like you missed your chance. Plus, the app's easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday. No jinx with you, because we would never, ever, ever jinx anyone or anything.
I don't say anyway. We jinx the rest of the season.
Anyway, we jinx it. You gotta understand, with Ryan, it's not just that he does I don't think there's any way that they can come back thing. Like, it's everything that he does, where he's just like, Julian Strother has been terrible. I'm sorry. He's not a shooter. Splash, splash, like literally the other night, I was like, I've been talking up Julian because I wrote that piece on him over at the Dig. And Ryan was like, the thing is,
just having an honest conversation, like just trying to chat,
just having like a good conversation between two hoop heads. And he was like, yeah, but the thing is with Julian, like, he just doesn't get to the rim. Like, the finishing is just not good enough. He made 6 straight layups. Your power is dangerous.
Matt was rolling after this because it was just, I wanted to die because it was so horrible.
Like, every time he made a layup, I would just, the best part is that Vinny Benedetto sits between us. And like, I've offered several times to have Vinny switch, and he's like, no, I kind of like it. Yeah. And so like, Julian makes a layup, and I just slowly turn and look at Ryan, and Ryan's like, God damn it. And then he's laughing, and then it happens again, and I just slowly turn. So
yeah, it's tough out here in these streets at Ball Arena, but we make it work anyway.
That's why I make it clear that I like DJ, but I don't think that he's actually like where he was. Now, like, I don't want to say he's not good. He's just at a different point in his career, because like DJ was a legitimately all NBA player in his prime.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's tough for me, having been through like this side of it, to see, like, you'll be like this when people are like, when Jamal's coming off the bench and you're like, you don't understand. He had 50 in the bubble. He had a 30-point triple double. Like, this guy was elite. And some young pop's going to be like, okay, grandpa, sure thing.
Get off the weed, grandpa.
Yeah. All right. So you want to talk about this, about the All-Star thing? I think this is more of a Team USA thing, personally.
It might be possible. Like, given we've seen some of those players unite before. What's kind of the most recent like Team USA reunion that we've seen? Kind of those guys really. The best one to kind of define it is one, like, the best team, the biggest team ups in NBA history have actually come from Team USA. Yeah. So LeBron hung out. Like, LeBron always knew Wade, but he got to know Bosh a little bit more at Team USA. So that was a big deal. And then Andre Iguodala is not a superstar, but he was the first one. Like, he went to chapel with Steph and Clay the Olympics. And that's how they got to there. And then
Katie hung out with them and they went to chapel. And that's how like they got to be all buddy, and that's how that happened.
Wow.
So that's kind of the thing.
Yeah. It's so it's just funny to think about the reunions that and the pairings that have happened. And because like people don't fully realize this, that these guys, like, especially there aren't as many rivalries as there used to be. So these guys are like they're buddy, they're friends, they're having a good time, they're chatting, they're seeing who they vibe with, who they've played with before, and like they want to see who they could really fit with well again. And often the only time that they actually have an opportunity to do that is at All-Star weekends. So I love doing this, and I love thinking about this because you can see on the different teams where some of these could really manifest themselves. Like Trae Young, for example. Trae Young's on the Hawks. He was an injury replacement, of course, so how serious of an all-star he has been, I don't know. Lots of people think very highly of him. Lots of people think very lowly of him. I could see him, like, and I think a lot of people thought it was going to be Wembanyama, who he was going to be pairing with, and there was something there. Ultimately, De'Aaron Fox kind of jumped in line, and I think Trae's probably kicking himself a little bit that he could have been playing with Wemby. That is not going to happen. On the rest of this roster,
I'll also note that wasn't Trae's. My understanding is Clutch wanted him to go there.
Yeah.
Trae really wanted to stay in Atlanta.
Interesting.
It was like okay if the team wanted to move on, and then sadly, like this is like not really fair to him, but San Antonio was like we're good. So that's tough.
Hey, they've got a good fit with Fox now. So if that's where they're going, then good for them. For the rest of these groups, like it's hard because you see Brunson and Kat have already reunited, but I'm also looking at Ant. I'm looking at Ant and I'm looking at the Wolves and trying to figure out, okay, what is that going to look like long term? Because you've got Gobert, you've got Randall, you've got Jada McDaniels, you've got their particular group. Everybody talks about Ant trying to go to, like, or not trying, but like how he would look in LA or how he would look in New York or in any of these places. I could see him joining teams with somebody like a Trae Young in a new place.
Feels like they're a little bit like the age gap. I think is always significant. They kind of got to be in the same class. The other thing is that I think makes this tough is you got to know who's hanging out with who at the parties. Like you just got to know like who's we're not shocker breaking news. We're not privy to
Weird.
That. So I think it's like an interesting kind of deal here. I also think it's funny because it's like I don't think Towns ever wanted to leave Minnesota, and he just like wow,
No.
like Towns. Here's what's what Luka wound up in LA, and Towns wound up in New York, and neither of them wanted it.
Yeah, like that's the one. Like by the way, with Luka, that I think a lot of people are going to be pointing to as well.
I've always thought that Ant was headed for Lakerdom, and Wolves fans got so mad at me because they thought that I was like saying he should go there. And I was like, no, I don't want any small market star to leave. No, I want no one to go to the Lakers. I want no one to go to the Knicks. I want no one to go to the Heat. Like, no, like reject that. Go to the places where the fans care the most.
Yeah.
Stay there. They love you. But just like based off of Ant's personality, seems like it. And I don't know what the next market is going to be. I don't know if Brooklyn's tried so many times to try and assert itself as that team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they can.
I don't think they can.
Why? Because the Knicks aren't the Lakers. Like, they're not.
You know what? No, I think they can. Like, given that they've already put together Kyrie and KD and Harden, like I think they've shown the capacity and the willingness to try stuff like that because they want to make splashes. That's clearly what they, or at least what part of their ownership group likes to do. What about Detroit with Cade? Could you see any of these guys being interested in going to Detroit? Probably not, right?
No, the more likely scenario is Cade winds up. I hate being this guy now, man. Like, I've just been beaten down by it. Where it's like, because I watched so many star free agents say, "I just want to win," and then be like, "Is he going? What about San Antonio? Oh no." You can play with Tim Duncan and win a title every year.
I mean, how do you think Nuggets fans feel with Joker, man?
Yeah.
Like, there's never been any desire from any of these guys to want to come play with him, ever.
Yeah, Wemby got Fox.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever like, I'm requesting a trade and I want to go to Denver. Nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
Credit to Aaron for being like, yes.
And again, I'm going to bring back up Luka. I'm going to bring back him up because I don't know if it's necessarily something that he will seriously consider. But if he's not super happy in LA,
Yeah.
how many places are you going to like? He'll probably figure it out, but like
so many NBA superstars, so many good-looking 25-year-old 50 millionaires just hate living in LA. It's not for them.
the scenario that comes to my mind is that they just replace him with Ant.
No.
When Ant decides he wants to go.
There's a look. I don't think Joker ever leaves. I think this front office is that serious about what he means to this franchise, this city,
Sure.
etc. Like, I don't think it ever happens. I don't think Joker is wired that way to request out, no matter how frustrated he gets. But I do think there is a stronger likelihood of Nikola Jokic joining Luka Doncic with the Lakers than there is of Luka Doncic joining Joker with the Nuggets. That's my personal.
I mean, the gravity of that situation is always going to pull towards the Lakers.
Lakers.
It always will. That's something that Nuggets fans have to. You don't have to like it, but you have to understand it, and you have to guard against that in every way possible. So, like, if there is that would be the ultimate turntable, though. Like, having it go the other direction. It's the thing that I think a lot of people would be excited for.
One I think is interesting is Giannis, because I do think Giannis just wants to win.
Could he be in that particular city that he was just in?
Maybe. I think that they definitely want him, but I think the Jimmy Butler move makes that more difficult. But they can always, if it doesn't work, they can just do either a sign and trade or trade him in the last year after his player option as part of that deal.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, you want to know what I genuinely think is possible?
What?
Giannis to Oklahoma City.
I mean, he's already been in the Midwest, so he kind of understands what it would be about.
He's super competitive, and that team is all about winning.
Yeah.
They aren't about anything else. They are about winning.
Could you, like, one of J-Dub or Chet, probably Chet, going back to Milwaukee in a deal? Like, that's the best centerpiece for a package.
All the picks.
Like, and that's the best package that they could possibly get. So, like, that's if you were Milwaukee trying to figure out how we could reset ourselves and set ourselves up for the future, like, you don't even have to go get OKC's picks, man. They've got every other pick in the bag. So that's
Memphis doesn't have a big three, but that big three will get broken up somehow in the next 3 years, whether it's Jaren, Ja, or Dez moving on. And probably in the next 5, 2 of them are gone, and only one of them is still there.
Him asks in the comments, do you guys see an all-star joining Denver in the next 5 years? No.
I think here's the thing is, like, you have to have some. Okay. So KD has talked about, I have to hurry here. KD has talked about this, about how he just wanted to play great basketball. Like, that was the biggest reason. He just wanted to play great basketball. But the thing is, like, it wasn't, because it was like, you get to play great basketball in a bigger market where you're able to make all that extra money.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, Denver has no advantage there. And so nobody's ever going to be like, I want to play great basketball in Denver. It's like, I want to play great basketball in LA. I want to play great basketball in New York. I want to play great basketball in Miami.
It's where it's convenient. It's where it makes sense for them. Like, it's
just more fun to be and I'm going to be real here. Like, it's more fun to be a young, good-looking black athlete making $50 million a year in Los Angeles, New York, or Miami than it is in Denver, Colorado. Like, that's just, and like, I don't blame them for that. I wished it was different, but it's not. I wish things were different, but like, I don't begrudge them of that at all.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that lifestyle differential. So that's all kind of part of the equation as well. All right, we got to go. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have more shows throughout the week. We're not missing a beat here on Locked On Nuggets. We'll get you set through the All-Star break, and then as practice and games resume, we'll have you covered to that as well. Check out the DenverDig.com, Mile High Sports, and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. We'll see you guys again next time. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.